The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2019 to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for his efforts to achieve peace and international cooperation, and in particular for his decisive initiative to resolve the border conflict with neighboring Eritrea. The prize is also meant to recognize the stakeholders working for peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia and in the East and Northeast African regions. When Abiy Ahmed became Prime Minister in April 2018, he made it clear that he wished to resume peace talks with Eritrea. In close cooperation with Isaias Afwerki, the president of Eritrea, Abiy Ahmed quickly worked out the principles for a peace agreement to end the long no peace, no war stalemate between the two countries. These principles are set out in the declarations that Prime Minister Abiy and President Afwerki signed in Asmara and Jeddah in July and September. An important premise for the breakthrough was Abiy Ahmed's unconditional willingness to accept the arbitration ruling of an international boundary commission in 2002. Now, peace does not arise from the actions of one party alone. When Prime Minister Abiy reached out his hand, President Afwerki grasped it and helped to formalize the peace process between the two countries. The Norwegian Nobel Committee hopes the peace agreement will help to bring about positive change for the entire populations of Ethiopia and Eritrea. In Ethiopia, even if much work remains, Abiy Ahmed has initiated important reforms that give many citizens hope for a better life and a brighter future. He spent his first 100 days as Prime Minister lifting the country's state of emergency, granting amnesty to thousands of political prisoners, discontinuing media censorship, legalizing outlaw opposition groups, dismissing military and civilian leaders who were suspected of corruption, and significantly increasing the influence of women in Ethiopian political and community life. He has also pledged to strengthen democracy by holding free and fair elections. In the wake of the peace process with Eritrea, Prime Minister Abiy has engaged in other peace and reconciliation processes in East and Northeast Africa. In September 2018, he and his government contributed actively to the normalization of diplomatic relations between Eritrea and Djibouti after many years of political hostility. Additionally, Abiy Ahmed has sought to mediate between Kenya and Somalia in their protracted conflict over rights to a disputed marine area. There is now hope for a resolution to this conflict. And in Sudan, the military regime and the opposition have returned to the negotiating table. And on 17th of August, they released a joint draft of a new constitution intended to secure a peaceful transition to civil rule in the country. Prime Minister Abiy played a key role in the process that led to the agreement. Ethiopia is a country of many different languages and peoples. Lately, old ethnic rivalries have flared up. According to international observers, up to 3 million Ethiopians may be internally displaced. This is in addition to the million or so refugees and asylum seekers from neighboring countries. As Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed has sought to promote reconciliation, solidarity, and social justice. However, many challenges remain unresolved. Ethnic strife continues to escalate, and we have seen troubling examples of this in recent weeks and months. No doubt, some people will think this year's prize is being awarded too early. The Norwegian Nobel Committee believes it is now that Abiy Ahmed's efforts deserve recognition and need encouragement. The Norwegian Nobel Committee hopes that the Nobel Prize will strengthen Prime Minister Abiy in his important work for peace and reconciliation. Ethiopia is Africa's second most populous country and East Africa's largest economy. A peaceful, stable and successful Ethiopia will have many positive side effects and will help to strengthen fraternity among nations and peoples in this region. With the provisions of Alfred Nobel's will firmly in mind, the Norwegian Nobel Committee sees Abiy Ahmed as the person who, in the preceding year, has done the most to deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for 2019. Thank you very much for your attention.
Madam Chair, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia has yet to institute democratic reform in his country. What do you expect from him when it comes to elections and so on forward?
Well, as you already have heard, we have recognized his intention of carrying through with democratic elections next year. And I do not quite agree in the premise in your question, because there is definitely a lot achieved already in reforming Ethiopia to a democracy, but there's also a long way to go. And Rome was not made in a day, and neither will peace and democratic development be achieved in a short period of time.
Would you say that this year's prize is most of all an encouragement to a further peace process at the African Horn, or is it just as much an award for the winner himself?
I will say it is both. It is a recognition and an encouragement of the efforts that have already been initiated.
How important has his efforts in neighboring countries other than Eritrea been?
As you already have heard in our official statement, we do recognize him as a person who actively contributes to peace processes in the neighboring countries. And we do hope, we recognize the work he has already done, and we do hope that this role will be developed and continued.
I would think there is not such a thing like an obvious candidate, but would you say that this year's candidate was easy to agree on?
The work of the Nobel Committee is never easy.
Short answer.
Bibiana Piene from Norwegian News Agency. Would you say, you have been stressing that this prize is very in line with the Noble Testament. How important has it been for the committee to find and award the prize to a candidate that is very much in line with the Testament? Has this become more important?
I would say that the work of the committee has always stressed very much to be in line with Alfred Nobel's will. There has perhaps during the last 15 years been a shift of making this clearer in the reasons for the prize. This prize is, as other prizes, in accordance with the will of Alfred Nobel.
There's always the risk of having Peace Prize winners who disappoint, especially when they're in the middle of a process. Has this been a factor for the committee in deciding this year's award winner?
We are, of course, aware of the risk, and we do in our work try to balance that what has been achieved, and of course we do hope that the Peace Prize might be further encouragement to increase efforts.
Alistair from Climate Home News. Greta Thunberg was the bookmaker's overwhelming favourite. What do you have to say to her supporters who are disappointed today? There's been controversy in the past about prizes for the environment, to the IPCC, to Al Gore and to Wangari Maathai. Is this an issue that you think the committee will return to in coming years?
Well, on the day when we announced the prize, we never comment who didn't get the prize and who could have had the prize or who the bookmakers speculated in. So I have no comment to that.
Sorry, Reuters. You said that there will be people who will doubt that this prize might be too early. Was it because you had a disagreement in the committee? Was it unanimous? Was it the decision unanimous, or you had some doubts in the committee? How did you vote?
Well,
Thank you.
first of all, it is a provision in the will of Alfred Nobel not to reveal the deliberations of the committee, and you are encouraging me to reveal the deliberations of the committee. But it is obvious that Prime Minister Abiy's achievements have not been completed. He is in the beginning of his efforts, and we recognize that much work remains. And we also recognize it might be debatable whether it is too early or not. And as I have already stated, the committee believes now is the time to recognize and to encourage.
Yes, Björn Lindahl, Svenska Dagbladet. Have you already spoken to the Ethiopian Prime Minister, and what was his reaction?
As I walked in, we had not managed to get in touch with Prime Minister Abiy. So if he is watching me now, I would just convey my warmest congratulations.
Will both of the presidents be invited to Norway to the ceremony?
The Norwegian Nobel Committee invites the recipient of the Peace Prize to the ceremony. And then the recipient of the Peace Prize will usually bring a delegation with him, and we don't interfere in that.
Any more questions?
Okay, thank you very much.